Morning Revolution, and welcome to this week. Hello, everybody. It's quite a week. Good morning, Revolution, and we are so happy to see everybody. Rosanna, the president, caught the virus last night along with his wife. It looks like it was up there in the upper echelons of the administration, and it's thrown the presidential race into a new crisis. I know perhaps some people might say it's the Lord's work, but I'm not a religious man, and we don't want anybody to be sick or anything like that, but it's certainly a kind of back at you moment, don't you think? Because Trump refused to wear a mask.
Yeah, I think so. Although I'm not putting, all kinds of questions are popping in my head. Is this another tactic? Have they changed? Are they shifting gears or shifting strategies, things like that? But and what is his base thinking now that he's got COVID? How is it going to, how are they going to react? Just a lot of questions that are popping in my mind. But definitely, somebody who should have been wearing a mask is not, and now he's got the virus. And this morning I saw that he was having mild symptoms.
Oh. Mild symptoms, oh my.
That was the report that popped up on my phone, so. And then that he was in New Jersey with some folks shaking hands at some fundraiser. Before before he even got the test results. And what do they tell you? If you've been exposed, quarantine yourself until you know for sure.
Yep.
That's the next step. And he didn't quarantine himself. And so now he may have infected another group of people that, innocently were following him. Or not innocent.
Anita, it's a sad, tragic, kind of unimaginable, ironic, the Lord don't like ugly kind of a sequence of events. I mean, just the sheer arrogance of it, the willing away, exactly. As if, this kind of Nietzschean will to power, you can just, by force of your personality, push back a virus that's killed 200,000 people across the country. You're a sociologist?
Yeah.
Sociology shed any light on that kind of personality? Or is that a question of psychology?
That might be a question for psychologists, but I think, he's interested in maintaining his power. And I think, the skepticism that has greeted his announcement that maybe it isn't even, maybe it's a diversion, is also part of that. But I think, it is this arrogance and this, you're right, this kind of superhuman where we can get over it. In fact, at the debate, his children were the only ones in the very small audience that was crammed together, and they weren't wearing masks. Everyone else had a mask on. So it has been, it is kind of calling the chickens home to roost in some ways. So.
Oh my goodness! Now Malcolm X used that phrase when Kennedy was shot, and Elijah Muhammad silenced him. The American people, he said, "Man, what are you doing?" He said, "The country is mourning the loss of this guy, and you talking crazy, but we're not going to silence you." That was the thing that Scott caused Malcolm to leave the nation. I think that was the incident that kind of broke the straw that broke the camel's back. So, Scott, do you think that the election is over now?
No.
Come on.
I think that it's the election is not even going to be over, on November 3rd. or November 4th, or I mean, this is a there's a you know the Trump regime has demonstrated that it has kind of plans within plans, right? To either um, outright win the election or pass a law saying that only in-person votes can be counted, and if that doesn't work, try to contest as many as possible and move it into the Supreme Court, which will by that point probably have been packed with yet another extreme conservative. So this is going to be a fight of which, as we've insisted time and again, the first step is an absolutely massive, overwhelming victory for against Trump, up and down the ballot, against Trump and the Republican Party, up and down the ballot. And after that, the need is to, well, I guess I should probably ask everyone, what is going to happen? Part of it is going to be the need to maintain pressure on
Wait a
on
minute, son.
anybody
I live
within the
in a blue state. You live in a blue state. It's safe. What if I want to vote for an independent candidate? If I want to vote green, it's safe.
There's
Right.
nothing is safe. Nothing to say that anything is safe right now, to me, is an expression of absolutely naive confidence in both the Trump regime and in the structures of bourgeois democracy itself. We are going to have to fight for the results of this election to be respected. And that starts with, making it clear that the overwhelming majority of the American people reject Trump, reject fascism, and reject white supremacy and violence.
And
And the
I think
Communist
that's key.
Party, go on, Rosanna.
Yeah, I think that's key to thinking that a state, like I also live in a state that quote unquote is safe, but this vote is a vote against fascism. And we have to, that vote has to be within those two candidates. And so it sends not just a vote for a different president, but it also sends a vote in rejecting fascism and the direction that Trump has wanted our country to go through. So I think it's more than just a safe state or anything like that. It's really a rejection of fascism. That's what our vote in this election means, in my opinion.
That's a good point. Now, Anita, some people are saying that, what's the difference between Biden and Trump? That they're both. That with Biden, you got fascism light, and with Trump, you got fascism heavy. And then Ohio, it looks still like the debate is, like the contest is too close to call. That was the case last week? Is it still the case this week?
As far as I know, yes, it's still a toss up, and it's usually, the difference is usually within the margin of error. So you really can't say what's going on. But I think we might see some change. I haven't seen any Ohio specific post debate poll yet. That's out there, a good poll. So we may have a little shift. I don't think Trump picked up any independent voters in that in his debate performance on Tuesday. We'll see.
Now I heard that the Communist Party Club in Cleveland was on the front row in the protest at the debate in Cleveland on Tuesday. Is that true?
That is absolutely true. Our comrade Molly Nagin did a great job. She stood up there in a rally that was about a couple hours before the debate took place in Cleveland, and she announced herself as a communist and talked about voting against fascism. She rallied the crowd. She was great. So I encourage people to go to. The Communist Party of Ohio has a Facebook page, which we posted the video on there.
All right.
So we need to post that on the national page and celebrate it and get it around. That's quite an achievement.
It was
now I hear that in Ohio the retirees are stepping into the plate. That they're doing a lot of phone calls and even text messaging and organizing Facebook groups and so on and so forth. Do you have a sense of what the unions are doing yet? I know that's been something that's been on our minds.
the unions are doing drop-offs of literature and signs. They have a little drive-through where on Saturday morning you can go to UFCW headquarters and pick up materials for distribution in neighborhoods. They're not knocking on doors, but they are distributing signs and literature. And then there's community groups. I'm going out with a Franklin Park community group just to do voter registration one more weekend. This is the last weekend to do voter reg. So so there's a lot of activity on the ground in Franklin County, especially, which is a blue oasis in Ohio. We want to get a strong turnout in Franklin County, which will counter some of the more Republican rural areas. The suburbs are going blue as well as the urban areas. So I think it's good I think Ohio looks good. And yes, the Americans, the Alliance of Retired Americans are doing very good work in the Mahoning Valley in particular with union voters, who many of whom voted for Trump in 2016. So I know they're working hard in that area.
So Scott, it seems to me that you're taking issue with this notion that your homeboy Joe Biden is a fascist lightweight and that Trump's one heavyweight. You see, does that mean that you're endorsing Biden now?
I am not endorsing any bourgeois candidate. I am endorsing a vote against fascism. And it's important to remember that in the Marxist perspective, there's not fascism light and fascism heavy. There's a qualitative difference between bourgeois democracy, as limited, as violent, as unequal as it can be, and fascism. As Mark Brodin put it in his class last week, under bourgeois democracy, there's always a space for struggle. There's still the possibility of legal organizing, of voting. Once you have fascism, that disappears. There's a real difference. So Biden is not fascism light. He may be. On the other hand, I saw an ad from the Trump campaign this morning that it was footage of Joe Biden from I don't know when, probably back in the 90s sometime, talking about, yeah, we need to freeze federal spending. We need to, stop spending money on Medicare, stop spending money on Medicaid, stop spending money on social. And you can see where very clearly the failure of this liberal section of the ruling class to reach out to working class voters, to adopt and fight for the needs of working class voters, that's coming back to bite them in the ass. Trump is turning that into a weapon.
Rosanna, what about the mobilization of the Communist Party in this election campaign? Are you satisfied with the progress so far? Are the clubs and districts joining the fight, or are the young people, new members? We got, I don't know, close to 1,500 since Bernie dropped out. Are they engaged? What's your estimate of the party's participation in the election campaign so far?
I think overall everyone is on board. Of course, there are some who speak some of the things about they're all the same and we need a third party. But for the most part, everyone is pretty much on board. We just had a new members orientation on Wednesday, where we talked a little bit about, while I pointed out what is our policy, our current policy at this moment in time, and talked about getting out the vote, talking about voting out fascism, and no one spoke against that policy, and or even expressed any kind of doubt about it. So, and there were, I forget how many, about 30 or so new members who attended the orientation. And so, like I said, there are a few squeaky wheels that maybe catch our attention a little more than it should, but I think overall people really understand, and more they understand that it's really a vote against fascism. And so I think we're
part of it.
Yeah.
So no, go for it, Anita.
Well, I was just going to say, I think you are from mostly from states that aren't in play, and we also have a special effort in the party for those states that are in play, or swing states, battleground states. A huge effort to reach out to voters one by phone or by text or email. And we have a list that we're working in Ohio of about 600 people in Ohio to contact. And we're going through that, and it's a chance to build the party and build the readership of the people's world, and reinforce our connections with people as well. So so that's underway, and I know that's big in other battleground states as well.
And every little bit helps. I intend to try to organize a meeting in my hometown based on family and friends and neighbors and high school and grade school mates and their next door neighbors to discuss getting out to vote. I think, when does early voting start in Ohio?
I think next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday.
Yeah, next week, definitely.
Yeah, so, each one reach one and try to expand the number of people. And then if everybody does that, you have another inch of progress in an effort to counter the attempt of the right wing to threaten and lower the voting. We're trying to get 1,000 people to pledge now, and that they should reach out to 3 other people, and that'll be 3,000, and in that 3,000 reach out to 3,000 more, and in that way double, triple, quadruple the number of people who we're working with to try to mobilize this vote, not just for the election day, but on election day to help monitor the vote, and then after the election to defend the vote, and to continue to be on the street and in the workplaces, on the campuses, pushing for the integrity of the election process. Because as you say, Scott, this is going to be a struggle up to and probably past the inauguration. And there needs to be a massive, massive turnout of the people, because the Republicans are calling on an army to intimidate the vote. And you saw what happened in Virginia the other day, which was very, very dangerous. Well, I think that just about does it.
Joe?
By the way, yes.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I think what's important in response to defending the vote is that we respond in a nonviolent way, so that we don't give excuses for them to bring in the army and just create this chaos that just we lose sight of what we're defending. And it's really important. And I think there's lessons to be learned from different other countries who have defended the vote, and what was winning for them, and what was some of their mistakes and some of their good tactics. And I think that was a nonviolent response is a good has shown to be a very good tactic.
Especially,
Absolutely.
I think we need to prepare people for the eventuality that we won't know for a week or so after the election, what the results are. In Ohio, they don't start counting the absentee votes until after the election is over.
And voting isn't, it isn't just vote and go home. It's not vote in opposition to, other tactics. It's voting and organizing and mobilizing to make sure, as Rosanna said, make sure that our rights are respected, that our votes are counted. Voting is one tactic, one tool of political struggle that is used in conjunction with others.
Yeah.
And you need to increase the consciousness about it too, just like we were taking tactics like, at 7 o'clock every evening during the COVID crisis. We would go out onto our porches and to our balconies, and we would bang pots and we would shout and clap, celebrating the frontline workers. You know what I mean? We need to celebrate the frontline workers in the fight to defend the democracy as well. You know,
That's right.
that's another thing that we're going to need to be able to do, to put forward those kinds of tactics. Rosanna's right. We got to avoid violence from right-wing agent provocateurs, and we can do so by learning from what other countries did, and also by learning how they did it in the South. The good trouble that Martin Luther King Jr. and Jesse Jackson and Fannie Lou Hamer and many others engaged in the nonviolent, massive pressure tactics. And the trade union movement is going to have to play a role. And I saw that Trumka said workers are not going to allow the GOP to steal the election. He said that's just not going to happen. So we're counting on them to step to the front, and we will be right on the front line with them. So thank you very much. If you haven't pledged yet, go to cpusa.org and pledge. Sign up. You can go to peoplesworld.org and pledge. Be a part of the solution, not part of the problem. Don't abstain. Stay in the fight. Thank you very much. We wish everybody a good week coming up. Stay safe, stay strong, stay physically distant, but socially close. See you later. Take care.
Okay.
Bye.
All right.
Later, comrades.